Assume that during a 3-hour period spent outside, a person recorded the temperature and their water consumption. The experiment was conducted on 7 randomly selected days during the summer. The data is shown in the table below. Now what I notice here is that the temperature is first, and we always assume that that's the x. However, on the graph, the temperature is on the y, so we want to look out for that. And water consumption is in the x. So I'm going to go ahead and graph these 2 rows. The day is not very important in this case. We don't need a third variable or a third, I guess we just don't need this column here. So we want to go ahead and think about the relationship between the water consumption and the temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and just graph. So I'm going backwards. At 48 in the water consumption, I am at 99 degrees. So remember, since it's a scatter plot, we're going to go ahead and estimate the best that we can. At 27, it is 85. At 48, it is 97. At 16, it's at 75. 32, it's at 92. 25, 85. And 20 is at 83. So this is a real scatter plot where the plots kind of give us a trend. There's still a correlation, and I can definitely still draw a best fit line. I want to go ahead and hit as many points as possible. So I want to go through majority of the points, so I may actually go down right in the middle. And so my 2 specific points I was really trying to get was this one right here and this one right here. So remember, we want a minimum of 2 points that will actually help us on our graph. So we already did number 9, where they told us to graph, and we also did number 10. It told us to draw a best fit line. Now we need to create an equation for our best fit line, and we have to create let statements for it. So I already know that x in this case is actually the water consumption. So water consumption in ounces. Now remember, you don't have to use these variables, but it's less confusing for you since you know exactly where x and y belong. And then I'm going to go ahead and let y equal the temperature. From here, since it is a line, I can use y equals mx plus b. But I need to go ahead and figure out what those things are. So the best thing I could do now is actually figure out what these 2 points are. So if I'm going back to my table, this is about 25, I believe. So I think this is 25.85. And this point here is 48. 97. I'm also noticing that my line is a positive, so I don't have to worry about that negative slope just yet. So if I go ahead and draw my rise over run, here is my rise and here is my run. Now it's too difficult for me to count the units, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract. So since this is on the y, I'm going to subtract 97 minus 85. So that should give me 12. And then for my x, I have 48 minus 25. So it should give me 23. So now I have my slope as m equals my rise, which is 12 over 23. And of course, you can always change this into a decimal if it's going to help you, but since we don't have to input anything, I just keep it as a fraction so that I know I'm going up 12 and to the right 23. Now remember, you can also draw your rise over run on the top as well of the line. It's just personal preference and how you want to do things. In this case, I went down 12, so it's negative, and I went to the left, which is negative, but two negatives make a positive, and that's why the slope is still positive. So now that I have my slope and I have an x and y, I have to go ahead and find my y-intercept. So I'm going to substitute with this one right here since the numbers are a little bit smaller. So I have 85 equals 12 over 23 times 25 plus b. And I'm going to go ahead actually and change the 12 over 23 into a decimal. Didn't think I would need to, but apparently it will be a lot easier. So it's approximately 0.52, and I'm going to go ahead and multiply that by 25 plus b. So I'm just punching it into the calculator to see what I would get. So I end up with 85 equals approximately 13 plus b. So now I have to ask myself, 13 plus what gets me close to 85? And it would actually get me to 72. So my y-intercept ends up being 72. So my final equation is y equals 12 over 23 x plus 72. Now remember, it's always an approximation because we're not really sure what it is if we're using decimals. So this is a good approximation for my best fit line.